Hi, welcome to my presentation. My name is Tyson Thornton. I'll be going over usability and talk about what it is and how we achieve optimal usability with our websites. So first, let's answer the question of what it is. Usability is how easy a website is for visitors to interact with. It also has to do with how functional a website is. And there seems to be kind of a hazy line when discussing usability versus user experience. User experience is how visitors feel when interacting with the website. So there's many factors that go into that. Usability is part of the user experience. You can see in this graphic that you have user experience is equal parts look, feel, and usability. But usability is how functional and seamless the user interaction is with the website instead of just their overall feeling or experience. There are aspects of user experience that do cross over into usability as well, and we'll talk about a couple of those. So, why is usability important? The main answer to that is um, to understand how people are using your website and to make your website better and easier to use. So there's millions of websites available today, and uh, there's a lot of competition. And if the average user can't quickly figure out how to navigate your website or find what they're looking for, they will leave and they'll just go to the next search result. So the website can have amazing visual design, but if a user finds it not usable, it doesn't matter how good it looks. So that's why usability is very important. Um, so next, let's talk about what different goals are of usability. The primary goal is to achieve a positive user experience, one where the user will want to return. Another goal is a seamless interaction. Ideally, the user doesn't have to think very hard about how to navigate your website or find the information they're looking for. The website design and layout is intuitive and simple. The next goal is losing minimum visits. As the user interacts with your website, there will be some users that are in the wrong place, and inevitably they're going to leave. But the goal is to make sure that those users don't leave prematurely when the information they were looking for is on your website, but they just couldn't find it before they gave up. So this leads to the last goal, which is conversions. So there should always be a goal in mind for all users that visit your website. And optimal usability helps the users achieve that goal. So what is a conversion? I could be buying a product on your website or submitting the user's info for you to call them back, or utilizing the contact information to request more info. It could also be just having the user get to a certain landing page or web page of your website, or even sharing your website somewhere else on social media. So usability consists of five main components. The first is learnability, and this is how easy it is for a user to accomplish a certain task on your website on their very first visit. Efficiency is next, and it has to do with how quickly a user can compete or complete a certain task after they familiarize themselves with website design. Then you've got memorability, and then that deals with returning users and how well they remember the website's design and then can accomplish certain tasks again without needing to relearn. And then you got satisfaction, and that's how pleased the user was with the design of the website. And then lastly is errors. How many errors do users make while trying to accomplish a certain task, and how critical are those errors in accomplishing the end goal? So now let's look at some of the main components of usability, and let's do that by exploring different elements of each one. So with learnability and efficiency, we have the need for clear navigation, and that's our first option here. So the overall design of the website is important, like we talked about, but not at the expense of a simple and thought out navigation. So let's look at an example. So here's an example of a website that has some really cool design with these nice videos in the background. But you also notice that there's some nice contrast here, and the navigation up top is neatly laid out and clear to see or it's clear to see what options exist and how to navigate to that. And we also have a search option up here, which is nice in the navigation. Uh, so, as we kind of go through this website, there seems to be a little bit of a lag here with some of the videos as we go through, and that's actually part of the next talking point, and that's going to be performance. So, in order to achieve efficiency in user satisfaction, the performance of a website needs to be high. It's difficult to test a user's perception of your website's performance. How slow do they think your website performs? A good rule of thumb is to limit web page loading to under 2 seconds. The choice of the web hosting service is obviously very important with this. So you're going to want to look for companies that pride themselves on performance. After that, you'll want to continually look at optimizing your website's performance. And there's a lot of different tools to do that. But next, let's look at an example of good performance. So let's pull this up here. I'm going to reload this. So here's a website with a lot of different elements on it, and these are different games that you can buy. But there's even videos down at the bottom. But you notice that when we reload this page, it's almost instantaneous that it loads all these different images. So the performance on this is great. Just really loads that quickly. So that's something that that you want to pay attention to with usability. You don't want to have the user wait. Okay, so let's come back here and let's talk about readability. So this affects nearly all the main components of usability that we talked about before. So learnability, memorability, satisfaction, errors, all of that has to do with readability. The content on the web page cannot be difficult to read or digest. Fonts and the use of contrast are key components or key things to focus on with readability. So let's look at another example. So here we've got WordPress. So WordPress, there's not a whole lot going on here design-wise, but you'll notice that the font is easy to read. There's good contrast. They're only sticking to one background color, and then they're utilizing the white to, again, add contrast. And the font that they used is easy to read on here. And as we navigate down, again, it's easy to digest all this information. And so white background colors are actually very popular, and they're popular for a reason. So they maintain a clean design, but at the same time, they make it easier to implement high contrast elements. So whether it's black or a certain color, they contrast well on the white background. And you always want to cater to your audience and figure out who your users are. And a lot of times, your font choices and readability will come into play for that. So if we were to look at this here, this is a website for seniors at utah.gov. You'll notice that the font is larger than normal. It's a little bit larger, and that's to cater to their audience, which are elderly people. And there's not a whole lot of text here, but we've got bold letters or bold lettering to highlight important information. So that's something that's important with readability as well. Okay, lastly, we'll talk about the responsiveness. So there's been major focus on responsive design in this course, and with good reason. Websites are often designed for desktop viewing, but the majority of users nowadays access websites from their mobile devices. So let's look at last example here. So here we've got uh, the website on the desktop here. We've got some pop-ups, but as we scroll through, um, you'll see the design, and it's a nice design. It's very clean. But let's take a look at it on the mobile. So if we scroll through the mobile here, same sort of thing. It looks really, it's nicely laid out for mobile. Uh, Images and text aren't crashing into each other or anything like that. So the responsiveness of this website is really high. Okay, so lastly, what we're going to talk about is just usability testing. So we've considered the different components of usability and designed a website with that in mind. And now, after we've done all that, how do we test it? So the best way to do that is with users in a controlled environment. Normally, a scenario is created which is realistic to a user experience, and there's a list of tasks that are created for a test user to do. Someone observes that user and takes notes while the user communicates their thoughts and their thought process during the entire process. So they're talking out loud as they're going through your website. And there are three main categories of usability testing. Explorative is usually done at the beginning of your design process, and that's just focusing on usability before you invest a lot of resources into development. And then you've got the assessment portion, which is done midway through your development, and it's just a more in-depth look at usability, and usually involves testing with users and all of that. And then you've got the comparative, and what that does is that evaluates user experiences with two or more websites that have similar goals or design. So usability testing with users involves many different types. And so you can test random people in public and have them use the website and ask for feedback, or you could test with people in different countries and time zones. You could involve experts that are experts in a related field and have them do certain tasks on a website. So the goal is to constantly be focusing on user feedback and always optimizing the user experience, and you do that through optimal usability. So that's the presentation. Thank you for watching.